Imagine pouring 15 years of your life into a single video game. 15 years of money, sleep, and dignity, only to die broke, hunted by a loan shark, with nothing to show for it. And then imagine opening your eyes to find it is day one all over again, and you remember everything. Now here is the question that runs underneath this entire story. If a man who already knows every secret dungeon, every hidden boss, every broken item in the most popular game on Earth gets to start that game over from scratch, what is actually stopping him from taking all of it? By the end of this recap, you will understand exactly how Lee Eojin turns a wasted life into the most feared name in a virtual world, and why a second chance is far more dangerous than it sounds. This is Worn and Torn Newbie, and I'm going to walk you through the whole story, beginning to end. Let's get into it. In the near future, the entire world plays one game. It is called Deus X Machina, DEM for short. A full-drive virtual reality MMORPG so total, so immersive, that for millions of people it has quietly replaced the real world as the place where life actually happens. You do not watch DEM on a screen, you live inside it, and like every world worth living in, it has its winners and its losers. Lee Eojin is a loser. He's played DEM since the day it launched. 15 years of his single, irreplaceable life have gone into that game, and at the end of all of it he has nothing. No fortune, no legendary gear, no name anyone respects. What he has instead is debt. A crushing, unpayable mountain of it owed to a loan shark who is no longer interested in patience. Eojin chased the dream that one more upgrade, one more gamble, one more grind would finally turn his account into the jackpot that justified the whole wasted decade and a half. It never came. The dream simply ate him alive, 1 year at a time. And the moment it all collapses is almost unbearably small. He's trying to enhance a sword. In DEM, upgrading equipment past a certain threshold is a gamble. Pour in your money, pull the lever, and pray. Push a weapon beyond +7, and the odds turn vicious. Fail, and the item shatters into nothing. Eojin, desperate, throws everything he has left at one final attempt to push a sword past that line. And it shatters. That is the last thing the worn-out, washed-up old gamer experiences in the life he knew. A destroyed weapon, an empty account, a debt he cannot pay, and the dawning certainty that 15 years have brought him absolutely nothing. Now remember this, man. The exhaustion in him, the defeat, because the story is about to hand him the one thing no real human being ever gets. It is going to watch, very carefully, what he does with it. Eojin wakes up. But the room is wrong. The debt is gone, the loan shark is nowhere, and when he logs into Deus Ex Machina, the game is not the bloated, fully mapped 15-year-old behemoth he died inside of. It is new, raw. The servers are practically fresh. The great guilds that will one day rule this world do not exist yet. The legendary players who will become household names are, right now, fumbling nobodies taking their first clumsy steps into a world they do not understand. He has gone back 15 years to the very beginning, and he has kept every single thing he learned. Take a moment to appreciate the scale of that advantage, because the story certainly does. Eojin is not merely a skilled player dropped into an easy server. He is functionally a living encyclopedia of a game that nobody else has finished yet. He knows where the secret dungeons are buried before anyone has thought to look. He knows which unremarkable early game items become absurdly valuable later, and exactly where to farm them while they are still lying around ignored. He knows the hidden bosses, the unmarked quests, the exploits, the routes, the timing. 15 years of painful, expensive trial and error have been compressed into pure, weaponized foresight, and dropped into a body that gets to act on all of it from the starting line. So he makes a vow, quiet and absolutely sincere. He will not repeat a single one of the mistakes that ruined him. He will not chase the wrong dreams or trust the wrong people or waste years on dead ends. This time, he is going to take everything DEM has to offer and take it first. So here is what elevates Worn and Torn Newbie above a simple revenge the grind fantasy, and it surfaces almost immediately. Eojin's edge is not raw power. At the very start, he is by definition a level 1 newbie like everyone else around him, with a beginner's weak body and beginner's gear. His edge is knowledge, and knowledge has to be cashed in carefully. A man who suddenly knows too much, who clears the impossible too easily, who walks straight to treasures no first-timer should know exist, draws exactly the kind of attention that gets you noticed, marked, and hunted. Eojin understands this better than anyone, because he watched it destroy other people the first time around. So the Worn and Torn Newbie does something clever. He hides in plain sight. He picks up a username and a persona, Stagnant Water, a deliberately unremarkable, faintly pathetic-sounding handle, and lets the world underestimate the masked nobody quietly stripping the early game for everything it is worth. This is where the story finds its rhythm, and it is enormously satisfying to watch. Eojin moves through the early game like a man reading the answers off a sheet nobody else can see. While other beginners stumble through tutorial zones and grind for scraps, he is already executing. He knows the unmarked cave with the boss that drops a weapon worth a fortune. He knows which vendor is right now unknowingly selling a trash item that will be priceless in a month. He knows which quest chain everybody else will overlook for years that hands out a reward they would later kill for. One by one, methodically he claims them, not through superior reflexes, but through the unfair, intoxicating advantage of having already lived this entire future once. And the body catches up to the knowledge. 15 years of muscle memory do not fully vanish just because the calendar resets. Eojin's instincts in combat, his timing, his read on an enemy's patterns, are those of a veteran wearing a newbie's skin. In a player versus player world where most people are still learning which button does what, that is a terrifying combination. He excels at the grind, and he excels at the duel. But he keeps his greatest cards face down. Eojin does not want to be the loud, flashy prodigy everyone watches. He wants to be the quiet ghost everyone overlooks, which means picking when and where to reveal what he can really do. He builds toward fearsome, large-scale combat techniques, sweeping area of effect abilities with names like Earthquake, Vortex, and Blazing Step, the kind of skills that let a single player become a one-man catastrophe on a battlefield. But power like that is loud, so he hoards it, deploys it surgically, and lets the legend grow on his own terms rather than the world's. And crucially, this is the human core the story never forgets. Eojin does not stay alone. The second chance is not only about loot and levels, it is about doing the life right this time. So he starts cautiously to gather people. He falls in with a reckless thrill-seeker named Drake, a player who lives for danger and the rush of impossible challenges. The perfect partner for a man who wants to plunder the game's most dangerous corners before anyone else dares approach them. Eojin needs someone fearless to go where the best rewards hide, and Drake needs someone who somehow always knows the way through. Their odd couple adventuring pairing becomes one of the genuine pleasures of the series, the worn-out cynic who has seen it all, and the wide-eyed daredevil who wants to. Around them, a wider cast accretes. Allies he chooses far more wisely than he did in his first ruined life. Rivals who sense with mounting unease that the unassuming masked player called Stagnant Water is somehow always 3 steps ahead of the entire server. Eojin is no longer the man the world used up and threw away. He is the man quietly rewriting his own future, and increasingly, everyone else's. But the loot run is not the real engine of this story. Watch what happens as Eojin stops merely surviving the game and starts shaping it. The deeper Eojin climbs, the harder he becomes to hide, and nobody can quietly clear a low-level dungeon. But a man systematically claiming the most coveted items, locations, and titles on the entire server eventually becomes a phenomenon people start telling stories about, even if they have no idea who is behind the mask. The masked figure who appears from nowhere, accomplishes the impossible and vanishes before anyone can pin him down becomes precisely the kind of myth a young virtual world loves to whisper about. And so Eojin steps into a second identity. Where Stagnant Water was the forgettable grinder hiding in the shadows, he cultivates a far bolder public face, a hotshot persona, an old-timer who carries himself with the unbothered seen-it-all swagger of a man who genuinely has done all of this before. Because he has. The contrast is the joke and the brilliance of it at once. To a brand new world, this dazzling, untouchable veteran looks like a prodigy who came from nowhere. The audience knows the truth. He is not a prodigy. He is a tired old failure who got handed the cheat code of a lifetime and is finally playing his cards right. This is also where the world of DEM truly opens up, and where the story rewards anyone paying attention. Deus Ex Machina is not a flat grind of bigger numbers. It is a vast, intricate world with its own factions and politics, its own hidden histories, its own systems waiting to be exploited by the one person clever enough to see them coming. The great guilds begin to form, the power blocks that, in Eojin's first life, carved up this world and locked players like him out of everything that mattered. Only this time, Eojin is there at the founding, knowing exactly who rises, who falls, who betrays him, and where every fault line lies. He moves through the politics like a man playing chess against opponents who think they are playing checkers. He intervenes where it counts, he positions himself, and the people he has chosen to protect ahead of the disasters he knows are coming. He turns events that wrecked countless players the first time around into opportunities, because he is the only one in the entire world who already knows the ending of stories everyone else is only beginning. The Worn and Torn Newbie is becoming something the game has never seen. Not the strongest player by raw level, but the most inevitable one. The man who cannot be ambushed by the future because he has already lived it. So what is Worn and Torn Newbie actually about? Underneath the dungeons and the gold and the perfectly timed reveals. It is about regret. And the almost unbearable fantasy of being allowed to undo it, strip away the swords and the skill windows and the loot tables, and you are left with a profoundly human ache, the wish that the years you burned could be handed back to you, with everything you learned still intact. Worn and Torn Newbie takes that wish completely seriously and plays it absolutely straight. Eojin is not a chosen hero. He has no noble destiny. He is just an ordinary, exhausted man who wasted his one life on the wrong things. And the entire drama of the series is watching him refuse with quiet iron determination to waste the second one. That is why the story keeps its feet on the ground even as Eojin grows monstrously capable. His power is not a birthright. It is paid for in advance with 15 years of misery the audience saw at the very start. Every dungeon he walks straight to. He walks to because he once got lost in it. Every trap he sidesteps because it has once caught him. Every relationship he handles with care, he handles carefully because he once handled it badly. The grind we are watching is in a very real sense the receipt for a life already spent. He earned this foreknowledge the hardest way there is, by living the bad version first. And the series is honest about the temptations that come with it. A man who knows everything could easily become the very kind of ruthless, grasping figure who ruined the world the first time. The drama in Eojin is the constant, quiet question of what he chooses to do with an advantage this total, whether he becomes a tyrant hoarding a stolen future or something better. A man who, having been ground down to nothing himself, decides to use this impossible edge to actually build a life worth keeping and to pull a few good people up alongside him. By this point in the manhwa, the unassuming masked grinder of the opening chapter is one of the most formidable and quietly influential names in Deus Ex Machina. The loan shark, the debt, the shattered sword, the wasted decade. The whole crushing weight of his first life has been answered, not by erasing it, but by transforming it into the foundation of everything he builds the second time. The Worn and Torn Newbie wears his scars on the inside, and they are the entire reason he wins. And that is the trick Worn and Torn Newbie pulls that so many regression power fantasies cannot. It would have been the easiest thing in the world to make this a simple revenge story. Failure goes back, failure becomes a god. The people who look down on him grovel, the end. There is some of that pleasure here, and the series serves it with real flair. Watching Eojin casually accomplish things that broke other players never stops being satisfying, but the story understands that the wish fulfillment only lands because of the 15 years of genuine despair underneath it. We do not cheer for Eojin because he is strong, we cheer for him because we watched him lose everything, and we desperately want the second draft of his life to come out right. So the long arc of the series is not really how powerful can one man become. It is, can a broken man, given a perfect second chance, actually become someone he can live with? Eojin grows in skill, in wealth, in reputation, in the size and loyalty of the people who stand with him. Drake at his side, allies he chooses well, a name that makes the whole server sit up. But the victory the story cares about is quieter than any boss kill. It is the sight of a man who once had nothing, who died alone in debt and convinced his life had been pointless, slowly assembling proof that it was not, that even the wasted years had value, because they became the knowledge that saved him. He does not get those 15 years back. Not really, no one ever does. What he gets is the chance to make them mean something, and he takes it deliberately, day after day refusing every old mistake. The worn-out newbie ends not as a number on a leaderboard, but as a man who finally, on the second attempt, lived the life the first one only promised. That is the whole point. Give a man everything he wishes he could redo, and the real question is never whether he gets stronger. It is whether he becomes someone better. And Eojin does. Worn and Torn Newbie began as a web novel by the author known as Lego Babasio, Step on a Lego, and became a hit manhwa with art by Bonnie, serialized on Kakao Page from November 2020 and brought to English readers on Tapas from December 2021. It ran to its conclusion across roughly 240 chapters, finishing in late 2025. A complete, satisfying arc from a broke man's lowest moment to the quiet triumph of a life done right the second time. And if you've ever wanted to watch the single most washed-up player in a virtual world get handed the one cheat nobody else has, a perfect memory of the future, and use it not just to win but to actually become someone worth being, this is the one that does it with the most heart. It is a regression-lit RPG with a tired old soul at the center of it, and that soul is exactly why it works. If this recap held you to the end, subscribe. Manhwa Recap Vault covers the stories that define the genre, and the second chance regression fantasy has rarely been done with this much sincerity. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next recap.